We're going to consider the questions, what is Hinduism? And what makes someone a Hindu? This is going to be an introduction to Hinduism and core concepts for History 314. It's the largest religion in the Indian subcontinent and third largest religion in the world. It comprises of 5 major groups or various branches: Vaishnavism, Brahmanism, Saurism, Shaktism, Shaivism, and these various groups follow different primary gods: Vishnu, Brahma, Surya, Shakti or Devi, and Shiva, and view these gods as the supreme deity of a much larger series of pantheons, generally speaking, with a couple of exceptions. Most of the other deities were either related to these primary deities or considered different forms or incarnations, or in the case of Vishnu, avatar of those particular deities. Hinduism has been called the world's oldest religion, and it is also notable in that the term for the religion itself, from an internal perspective, is sometimes called Sanatana Dharma, or the eternal law, or the eternal path, or the eternal stream, if you will. As the world's third largest religion, it has over 1.25 billion followers. But before we begin here, we have to consider where the term Hindu comes from. It is originally, the term itself within its history, originally a geographical term that refers to the Indus River Valley and comes to South Asian languages from Persian. It is then a cultural description of the peoples who lived in this region, and only later emerges as a name specifically for the group of religions practiced in this region, which gradually coalesces into the concept of a Hindu religion over time. This topic a little bit more deeply, I want to entertain the question of near and far, where our images come from. On the top of this slide, you will see an image that is actually very near to you. It's from the Hindu temple of New Orleans, and it's a celebration of the Holi holiday. Holi, spelled H-O-L-I, is a popular ancient Hindu festival, also known as the Festival of the Spring, or the Festival of Colors, as well as the Festival of Love. It's perhaps more famous for these vibrant powders that are thrown about in celebration in South Asia, as per this image below from the National Geographic magazine. In 2021, Holi is going to be celebrated from March 28th to March 29th. So it's going to be relatively near to our examination of different types of ceremonies in this course. Bonfires remain an important part of Holi rituals today. However, the most striking aspect of the festival is the spraying of these brightly colored powders and water in enormous public celebrations. The colors mark both Palada's flickering bonfire and the bright colors associated with the arrival of the spring. Images in this course may come from as close as New Orleans or even possibly Lake Charles, and sometimes as far away as the other side of the planet. We're also going to consider what is being celebrated. For example, here in this image you see a Diwali celebration of clay lamps from Guyana, a house in Berbice, Crabwood Creek, Guyana specifically, decorated with these various diyas or clay lamps. Diwali is a festival of lights, and one of the major festivals celebrated by Hindus, Jains, and Sikhs alike. The festival usually lasts 5 days and is celebrated during the Hindu lunar solar month of Kartika. Considering these various locations is going to be important for us, whether it's near or far. Sometimes location is very important for religious reasons, and other times it's more sort of social and religious reasons, such as in the case of diaspora. Pictured here, you see Kedarnath Temple, which is a Hindu temple dedicated to Shiva located at the Garhwal Himalayan range near Mandakini River. Kedarnath is located at the state of Uttarakhand in India, but very close to Nepal and Tibet as well. Due to the extreme weather conditions, the temple is open to the general public only between the months of April and November. It's closed during the winter. The temple is also not directly accessible by road and has to be reached by 22 kilometers, or about 14 miles, of an uphill trek from Gorakund. Pony and Manchan service is available to reach the structure. However, according to Hindu legends, this is a very important place. The temple was initially built by the Pandavas and is one of the 12 Jyotirlingas, the holiest Hindu shrines of Shiva. So there are 11 others of these shrines, in which case these locations are very important for cosmological reasons. The question for us is going to be, how does history play a role? Pictured here you see Prasatakrabai or Prasatakrabai in Khmer, which is also known as Prasatakwai in Thai. It's a disputed Cambodian temple which was built during the Angkoran period and the golden age of Cambodian history. This 11th century religious site was constructed in order to be dedicated to the Hindu god Shiva and has become a tourist attraction near the Thai-Cambodian border in recent years. But because of its location technically ever so slightly in what is now Thailand, there's a bit of a dispute over the site. In fact, if you were to travel on Thai Airlines, you see the site being cited as part of Thai history. But in fact, it's an Angkoran site and probably more closely related to the peoples that now occupy the nearby state of Cambodia. To yourself, at this point, wait a minute, we got New Orleans, Cambodia, Thailand, Guyana. Well, what about India? Pictured here, you see possibly the largest temple in India today, the Sri Raghunatha Swami Temple, which is a Hindu temple dedicated to Raghunatha, a form of the supreme god Mahavishnu, located in Srirangam in Tamil Nadu in the south of India. It's constructed in a Dravidian architectural style, and the temple is glorified by Alvars and the Diva Prabandha. Don't worry too much about the spelling of these terms unless they appear on the slide. That's another lesson here. Something that is important here is that you will note the relatively tall top to the temple known as the Gopuram. And you'll be able to see Gopuram, especially in the Tamil Nadu style, that stretch very far. And we'll talk about how this plays into concepts of Hindu cosmology a bit later. These massive temples, in that case, does size matter? No, it doesn't. In fact, on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see a very small shrine that was built to Hanuman, a white monkey god-like figure that I took a picture of in Delhi several years back. When we're thinking about Hinduism, the devotion to the gods is more about the practice of the devotion, rather than the size of the temple or the fanciness of the temple, which is not to say that patrons don't try to make things extra schmancy on occasion. Forward here in the discussion, we're going to consider important beliefs. So what are important beliefs? Well, the notion of karma in Hinduism is very important, as well as the notion of samsara, the idea that there's a rebirth and one or many hell realms, and the potential to be liberated from the cycle of reincarnation or moksha. and we'll discuss more about these in a bit. But for the first discussion post, I'd just like you to get the juices flowing a little bit. What jumped out to you from this first series of slides?